Hail, and welcome to Shadow Space. And today we've got we were commenting on another BCP video. This is titled, CNN panel implodes as deranged liberals declare White House, WHCD, I can't remember what the CD stands for, the dinner. Assassination attempt against Trump staged. This was uploaded April 26th. This is being recorded April 27th, and link is in the description.
This isn't just one event. This is a bit of a carnival. You know, the dinner itself is the event, and to get into the ballroom itself, to get into the dinner, if you had a ticket to the dinner, and that's 2,500 people, you had to go through airport style security. Now you could get into the building of the hotel before you got to that stage, and as we understand it tonight, someone entered the building and ran at that airport security when they were tackled, and we've seen the footage that President Trump has published on his Truth Social website in the last hour or so. But you could get pretty close. But there were lots of other parties, other events, other gatherings, receptions going on within the hotel that wasn't the official event. So to get into the ballroom, you had to go through the airport security, but you could get into the building without having really much of a check.
Yeah, we are hearing that the suspect has been identified as Cole Thomas Allen, who's 31, from California. And the police chief in Washington, D.C., Jeffrey Carroll, says he was a hotel guest where the event was taking place, and his room has been secured as part of the investigation.
One thing that I'm disturbed by as we woke up this morning is seeing folks on the internet say that this was a false flag, that we are basically all in cahoots to say that this was staged. And I think as someone who, for all of us, who was in the room, who had to jump on the ground, who had to text our family.
See, we live in a day and age where people, I believe honestly, I have no reason to believe that they're lying, believe that the earth is flat. People, we just had, the astronauts go around the moon, go around on the dark side of the moon and come back. People deny that space exists. You say you want a marketplace of ideas. Well, the marketplace of ideas implies that for every idea that you have, there are an unlimited number of anti-ideas that either completely oppose it or that shift it just enough in such a way that it isn't actually the original, it's something else.
Friends and tell them that we're okay, calling our moms, like so many people in this country have done for decades.
And if you're going to say that all opinions are valid, then believing that this was staged or this was somehow a hoax is a completely valid way of looking at the experience. I don't know what the problem is.
To see people say those kinds of things, it is frustrating and it's disturbing. It shows the issues that we have to try and fix.
But you can't fix it.
We got to follow up on our coverage of the would-be assassination / mass shooting attempt that happened last night at the White House Correspondents' Dinner while President Trump was in attendance. And thanks to the Secret Service, thanks to law enforcement, the far-left radical lunatic that invaded the venue that the dinner was being hosted at was stopped before he was able to cause too much damage, okay? And we got to talk about this because now his political ideology is being revealed, the motives are being revealed, and lo and behold, he was there to assassinate the president and members of the administration. And now that we know the motive, the reaction is everything that you would expect in a situation like this where liberals refuse to acknowledge the reality that a vast majority of the domestic terrorism in this country is coming from their side. It is coming from radicalized far-left lunatics who believe that violence is justified in order to stop Trump. And
well, I mean, I guess even if you weren't to take the position of they are leftists that are doing the violence, I would say that, maybe you couldn't say that. I don't know.
And this is why currently a whole bunch of them are screaming that the would-be assassination attempt, mass shooting, was staged because Trump wanted to use this as an excuse to build his ballroom. Take a look.
White House officials tell our CBS News' Jennifer Jacobs that authorities have found anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric on the suspect's social media accounts. We're also told by law enforcement sources both of his firearms were purchased legally in California. As for the defendant, Margaret, he'll appear in federal court tomorrow.
Well, Trump just used this active shooting to plug his ballroom. So we found the motive for him staging this performance at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We found the motive. Of course, he would slip in, well, actually, if we were at the White House ballroom, the security would have been in tip-top shape, and no one would have been able to get in with a weapon. Which is actually
Did he do that?
mostly basic protocol for a security guard, you would think. So the fact that they didn't have even a bouncer, it feels like, there. This is so staged. It's so staged. And here's the fucking motive. He's gonna do anything to get that bunker.
I'm just going to say it. I would believe Erica Kirk was telling the truth before I would believe that what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight wasn't staged. Because I've been to events at the White House. I know the layers of security you have to pass through. And you want me to believe, you want me to honestly believe that someone got through multiple metal detectors, multiple screenings with a weapon, managed to fire it off 3 times before being taken down. They rushed the president and the first lady and the cabinet out. And now they're going to fucking resume the event. If somebody really did get through all those levels of security with a weapon that they managed to also fire off, that's a massive
you can
fucking
shoot and move
security
at the
breach.
same time.
You would not resume the event. That doesn't make any fucking sense. What's more, to the press that are terrified in that ballroom, or were terrified in that ballroom.
I guess if you want to know, there are some things that don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, his plan was literally to just run. I believe I made the joke last time that the bullet time didn't kick in. Is that what he thought was going to happen? Is he was going to move so fast, and their reaction time, they were going to be caught so off guard. He was going to have like 20 minutes to be able to get in there and start spraying before they were going to be sitting there, minds completely blown, like just completely disengaged from what was going on because they were having this existential meltdown that he was going to be able to get in there and just shoot at all of them. I don't understand what that was his plan, was to just gun in hand, ready to go, just charge straight up the front, thinking that was going to be the best point of entry. I don't know. Doesn't sound very well thought out. There's something about what the last person said. Maybe if I see their face. This whole, like, using it to plug the ballroom. Like, why? The one of the security guards got shot. Had the bullet not hit the bulletproof vest, it would have been far worse. So why would someone in a staged promo use live ammunition? That makes no sense. That makes even less sense. There are a lot of things that don't make sense.
More, to the press that are terrified in that ballroom, or were terrified in that ballroom, I can't imagine what that's like, but I want you to remember that every student in this fucking nation does. Because that's just a tiny fraction of what these kids experience every goddamn day.
See, because that's true. I mean, you look at the rise in school shootings. At this point, it is normalized. It's just a thing that happens. You should assume at any point that someone is going to get fed up and is going to bring a gun to kill someone or as many people as possible.
I will say,
It's just going to
a
happen.
particularly secure building, and I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the
And
attributes
getting
of what
rid
we're-
of guns doesn't do anything. Think that one Austin Metcalf, he got stabbed. If it isn't a knife, it's a gun. Excuse me, said that wrong. If it isn't a gun, it's a knife. If it isn't a knife, it's a baseball bat with a nail sticking out of it. Like,
planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's a much more secure.
We about to fact check this first. If you mess with me, make sure that follow button. And this month is SA and Autism Awareness Month. Let's get it. What the hell is Donald Trump talking about? First, if the hotel was not secure, that means that the security detail sucks. And I do believe that this assassination attempt was staged, and here's why. On April
I didn't watch
16th, the
his
U.S. judge blocked Donald Trump's $400 million ballroom from being
on the
built.
issue.
In fact, Fox News reported that the judge blocked it unless it was deemed strictly necessary for national security.
construction clarifying in a sharply worded order that any above-ground physical construction of the site is blocked unless deemed strictly necessary for national security purposes.
And then 10 days later, there was an assassination attempt on the president during a correspondent dinner. And if we actually analyze the security details, I mean, Charlie Kirk's funeral had better security details than this. Al Jazeera reported that the White House correspondent dinner had airport security level, while Charlie Kirk's funeral had level 1 security measures. It was also reported that the attacker was allegedly a hotel guest, and he was able to breach the outermost security checkpoint, which is located near the hotel lobby. And it's been reported that hotel guests still have access to the hotel lobby during this event. Also talking about a president who had 2 previous assassination attacks. He has even came out and said that Iran is trying to take his life. This assassination attempt doesn't prove that we need a $400 million ballroom in the White House. It proves that the president's security details sucks.
That event last night.
Well, arguably, it doesn't mean that his security detail sucks. Again, he was able to bypass the hotel security. That's not his fault. That's the hotel let someone with at least a loaded gun. From what I hear, he had multiple weapons. I can't remember if they were on him or not. He was able to get past their security and bolt down this hallway to where the ballroom was. I don't know the layers of security, but the hotel has security, right? At what point was that not there? Like, if they hadn't been there for that, and they were there to just kill people in the hotel, just went up into where the rooms were, just shot open a room and just killed whoever was in it, what would the hotel security have done? Would they have done anything? Would they have known?
At the White
Where
House
were they?
Correspondents' Dinner, it was not staged, and it's dangerous to say otherwise. Let me explain. And this will undoubtedly be an unpopular opinion among many, but it's important that you understand. Let me first tell you why it wasn't
Well,
staged.
see, but the problem is that people are going to take the coincidence of the judge blocking this $400 for this edition and this attempt. They're going to link them together in their mind, even if they aren't necessarily linked
And
together.
then let me tell you why it's dangerous to say that it was. So the first thing that I've heard is that the suspect mysteriously made it through security while armed, and that just didn't happen. The incident took place outside of the security area, the main security areas before you walk into the ballroom, and this is not uncommon whenever the president speaks at public events. Most stringent security areas set up
No, so again, it would have been the hotel security if there was a doorman at the door, they looked at this person, watched them walk into the building, having no idea that they had a gun and that they were going in there, and allowed them to just go in. That's not on Trump's
Enter
security.
the room where the president is or it's going to be. I've been to plenty of these events, and that's normal protocol. Number two, I heard that the president and vice president stayed on premise after the incident. That's also not true. The president and vice president were removed immediately, and the area was in complete lockdown until both vice president and president had left the premise. And then I heard that the event continued after the incident happened, and that's also not true. The event was stopped and it will be rescheduled, I think, in the next 30 days. So again, there isn't a single element out there that suggests, at least to me, that what happened last night at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was staged. And we need to treat it for what it is, an inexcusable event that should not happen in a democratic society.
Yeah, I agree with this guy.
Except this is at least the second time it's happened.
This for what it is. But let's be clear
in a few
about
years.
What it is. It is another act of...
I mean, that doesn't even include all of the anti-ICE protests that have been happening the entire time. If that doesn't even include all of the ICE detentions, which some people would categorize as its own sort of chaos and violence.
Domestic terrorism from a far-left, radicalized domestic terrorist extremist. Something that we see too often in this country because these individuals have been brainwashed into hating Trump to the point where assassination attempts have become routine. And lo and behold, the White House gunman, right, Cole Allen, sent anti-Trump manifesto, said he wanted to take out Trump officials, quote, the friendly federal assassin. This is what he's calling himself. Let's read here. Gunman Cole Allen sent an anti-President Trump manifesto to his family members about 10 minutes before open firing at Saturday night's White House Correspondents' Dinner, calling himself the friendly federal assassin and revealing he was hell-bent on killing Trump administration officials, the Post has learned. Quote, turning the other cheek is for when you yourself are oppressed. I'm not the person raped in a detention camp. I'm not the fisherman executed without trial. Allen wrote in an unhinged missive with which a relative provided to police. A U.S. official said, quote, I'm not a school kid blown up or a child starved or a teenage girl abused by the many criminals in this administration. Turning the other cheek when, quote, someone else is oppressed is not Christian behavior. It is complicity to the oppressor's crimes. Yeah, so a full-blown Marxist. Full-blown, radicalized, anti-Trump, Marxist lunatic. That's what we have here. Let's call it
turning
what it is.
Can you scroll up again?
Let's call it what it is.
Hold on.
We have radicalized.
Turning the other cheek when someone else is oppressed. Isn't that actually Christian behavior? Isn't that what Christian behavior tells you to do, is to turn the other cheek? Because the moment you think anything else is the moment you do this. It's the moment when you resort to violence, because there's no other way. The point is to pick something other than violence.
Anti-Trump, Marxist lunatic. That's what we have here. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it.
Because I mean, you would make the argument that going around and just kill, because it says that he wanted to kill Trump officials. Did he have administrative officials? Not including Kash Patel. Prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. So he had like a tiers.
Allen described his targets as including, quote, administration officials, not including FBI Director Kash Patel. They are targets prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. Quote, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. Allen wrote, apparently referring to the president. Yeah. So, turns out they're running around calling the president a pedophile, right? Falsely claiming that he committed the same crimes that Epstein committed.
I mean, honestly, what this means is Trump could probably sue for being called, for whoever called him a pedophile. This is harm. This person ran into this building expressly with the reason of killing him. Granted, I guess it's not just him.
Would radicalize people, right? All that virtue signaling about Epstein this, Epstein that, a witch hunt against Trump, by the way. Let's be real. That's the only reason they're doing it. Yeah, that turned out to cause one of these lunatics to try to kill members of the Trump administration, the whole administration. Amazing.
No, they
This guy's obviously another of these
they
left-wing lunatics who's come to kill the president. 3 assassination attempts on the president now. Charlie is dead. You have people on the left lionizing Luigi Mangione.
Well, there's a
have
bar in
you have-
Wisconsin.
let me finish.
Yeah.
You have polling showing a tolerance for political violence on the left, and I heard Hakeem Jeffries say this week it's maximum warfare all the time.
We are in an era of maximum warfare. Everywhere,
Wow.
all the
We
time.
have a violent streak on the left and a rhetoric
Oh
problem on the
boy,
left, and it
do you
must be
remember when Trump got a whole bunch of shit for saying it was going to be a bloodbath when he was talking about electric vehicles in the auto industry?
So when I was at the Department of Justice, what we found is after the 2020 election, there was a significant rise of threats to all elected leaders, state legislators, some who were killed, to our president, Joe Biden at the time, Barack Obama, someone tried to go into his residence. This is a problem.
Who's the president?
Hold on.
How many assassinations?
So Ramamdani had 2 pipe bombs. Granted, they didn't go off, thrown right outside his house.
And there are several assassination attempts
3
to other presidents that were not successful. I agree. It should be investigated about why they continue. What are the failures of the Secret Service?
Yes, and the Democratic just quickly, the Speaker of the House in Minnesota, a Democrat, lost her life to political violence this past summer. This is not solely a problem on the left. It is a problem across the board. It is a rising crisis.
Don't downplay it this
It is
way.
rising crisis in this country.
Stop generalizing
and
the
it's
left.
appalling.
And stop generalizing the left as the entire left.
Candidates
Hold on,
campaigning with Hassan Piker.
listen to me. Stop generalizing the left as the left is the
You can be
entire
mad at me all
problem.
you want.
I'm not
It's
mad
on.
at you,
We have a left-wing
Scott. I want you to be truthful.
Yeah, and you have, as many of your fellow Democrats, have used some heated rhetoric against the president. And do you think twice about that when something like this happens?
Say that you don't.
Rhetoric do you have in mind?
Just talking about some of the fact that he, is terrible for this country and so on and so forth. I understand that that's your democratic right, but overall,
Yeah.
do you
I have
have a
no
responsibility?
personal problem
wrong
with
with this
Donald
guy?
Trump at all. I mean, I talk about the policies of this administration, the
Doesn't look
authoritarianism
good.
like we saw on display in Minneapolis, where 2 of our citizens were gunned down in the streets simply for exercising their First Amendment rights. Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and others have died in custody. I'm talking about policies. I don't personalize it, and I certainly have never called the press the enemy of the people. I think the press are the people's best friend, and that's why it's written right there into the First Amendment. We need the press to be a vigilant watchdog against every level of government, federal, state, local, all of it.
You're not going to get an argument from me on that. Before I let you go,
Yeah.
See, but no, you don't. If the government were transparent, then the people would have access to that information. So if they wanted to look it up, they would know, and they don't need you. That is not the point of the
So
news.
you see that, you heard that. Now, I find it to be very, very, very fascinating how liberals, leftists, Democrats love to dig up Melissa Hortman's body out of the grave every single time they want to use it as a shield against criticism of the far left domestic terrorism that we're seeing in this country. Ain't it crazy how that works? These people don't care about Melissa Hortman. They don't care about what happened to her. And the reason why you know this is because you don't see anything about her. You don't see anything about her from these Democrats, from these liberals. They only talk about her when it's time to use her body as a shield against criticism for the far left domestic terrorism that we continue to see in this country. And this guy in particular was radicalized by BS Now and CNN, right? The same exact rhetoric that is spewed on the airwaves of CNN, of the mainstream liberal media, of MSNBC every single day is exactly why this guy attempted to go up in the White House Correspondents' Dinner and to assassinate members of the administration, the whole administration. He was motivated by the same rhetoric that we hear from Democrats. And I'm not surprised. Nobody should be surprised. We've seen this over and over and over again. This is the 3rd, 4th, 5th assassination attempt on the president. I'm counting the ones that we don't even know about. Let's be real. And it continues to happen over and over and over again. And these people never change. They never change. It's always this conversation about, oh, we need to turn down the rhetoric. No, it ain't no we. This ain't a we problem. The Democrats need to turn down the rhetoric first, because conservatives are being targeted on a regular. We're talking about assassination attempts against Supreme Court justices, against members of Congress, the President of the United States, member of the administration, conservative civil rights activists like Charlie Kirk. Right? I mean, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with constant attempts on the lives of Republicans, conservatives, people who are the political opponents of Democrats, right? That's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. And it's happening over and over and over again. And they keep trying to tell us, oh, no, see, you don't understand. This is a both sides problem. No, it's not. It's not a both sides problem. This is a far left problem. Because the far left they explicitly believe in this. It's been polled. They say it out loud. They platform individuals like Hassan Piker, where they openly say, yeah. It's totally fine to commit acts of violence for political purposes. That is what they believe. This is why they celebrate assassination culture.
I mean, at this point, I'm actually really surprised, because that is what I predicted that they would say last time, is that they would say, I don't believe in political violence, but he is Hitler, so he deserves it. None of them have said that. They've actually all pivoted to some other issue.
Mangione is basically a deity. They celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And people are surprised that this keeps happening? Yeah, I mean, they've made people who do stuff like this their heroes. So, of course, you're going to have more people that's going to continue to do it, right? I'm just hoping that the media understands that this poison that they're in bed with, that they're coddling to because they hate Trump, apparently is a threat to them as well, too. Because members of the media could have easily been victims last night had that situation went down differently, right?
Yeah.
So they need to understand that, hey, this virus of domestic terrorism that we're seeing,
but they wouldn't have actually died, right? Because it was staged, right? Because he had blanks in the gun or something.
It's not just a threat to Trump or Republicans or conservatives. It's also a threat to the liberal media as well, too.
He wasn't ever going to get past that checkpoint.
I mean, we're going to see, but until Democrats actually acknowledge the truth, which is that their side of the aisle have a problem, we're going to continue to see this issue. But, they want to boo-hoo on and cry about both sides. Well, both sides need to do something about it. No, it's not a both sides thing.
And we had protesters last night outside the dinners. We do every year, and you're right. I mean, especially here in D.C., we see a regular protest. We celebrate the First Amendment, and that was what so much.
So you celebrate your ability to go out and say, he's a horrible, evil, he is Satan incarnate, and something needs to be done about him. That's completely acceptable rhetoric to you. And yet that's the exact same rhetoric that causes people to do things like this. Then it won't ever go away. Congratulations, you are doomed to this lifestyle forever because you choose not to censor any of the things that you say.
Much of last night was about, but there are those out there, and our polling continues to show, especially younger voters and younger people think that political violence is justified against your opponents. How do we speak into that? How do we change those minds? That's the next generation who increasingly says it's fine to use that against your opponents.
Well, I think it's going to be important for all of us, whether that's the president, the cabinet, members of Congress, people in the Senate, governors, state and local elected officials all across the country, to do the best that we can to set.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. There's no need to even listen to this guy. If you're going to say that it's going to take all of us, the first thing you should say, it's going to take me first, right? I have to reflect on my rhetoric and how it has caused stuff like this to happen, right? The first thing, it's going to take all of us, the president, members of his cabinet, right? Notice how is everybody except him, right? He doesn't call himself out personally. Even
Well,
though
no, because free speech doesn't work that way. Free speech isn't, you can't say things, but I can say things. Free speech is everyone says things.
he's supposed to be the leader of the Democrats in the House. And again, as long as the response is always, well, the president needs to do it. Oh, well, somebody else needs to do it. As long as it's always
it's why the Democrats never get anything done, isn't it? It's the reason that they can't actually do anything, because they're too busy waiting for someone else to solve their problems for them. The only thing that they can do is stand on the sidelines and yell. It's their only tactic. Either that, or they get frustrated and they engage in violence.
Instead of, this is
That's what you get.
With the far left, with the Democrat Party,
Which,
acknowledging for
again,
what it is.
According to the left, language is violence. Language can be violent. Therefore, every time they protest, they are engaging in violence. It doesn't matter.
We're not going to see any progress on this issue. That is the reality, the unfortunate reality. Democrats need to be confronted directly by the media on the fact that this is uniquely an issue for them. So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share.
Because, I mean, there's a difference between saying that trans people can't participate in the sport of their gender versus getting fired for your job, from your job, for saying that there are two biological sexes. Again, the trans person can still compete. They just have to compete as their sex, not as their gender. This person has lost their job and will never be able to do that job, probably anywhere, depending on how heavily they get, like, blacklisted. It's not... I don't know. They beat my projections anyways. They haven't quite started to say what I thought they were going to say, so I guess they beat my projections.